Lesson 17, Part 1b, the present middle passive imperative. The present middle passive imperative equals first stem plus epsilon plus imperative B endings, just like we would expect. Again, no first person imperatives. Here's on the verb egero, egeru, egereste, egerest, egeresto, egereste, egerestosan. So be raised up, he must be raised up, be raised up, they must be raised up. So we're throwing in a be because it's a passive. And then we've got the must up there in the beginning. So the imperative be endings are nothing, either omicron or iota, and then sto, then nothing, stay, and stosan. So note those endings well, as I mentioned before. We've got the tho and the thosan in there that's going to help us identify that these are imperatives. Then we got the este up here, which is much easier to identify. So it is, again, identical to the present active indicative. We're going to use the omicron here, which is going to contract with the epsilon from the theme vowel and become omicron upsilon. We'll see the iota, I believe, in the aorist. So note the ending omicron upsilon in the second singular is a contraction of epsilon and omicron. Just like the present active imperative, the present middle passive imperative second plural is identical to the present middle passive indicative second plural, which means for the a-o and a-o verbs, they're also identical to the subjunctive form there. E-o contract verbs get an extra iota just like they did in the present active imperative. When parsing and translating, don't worry about trying to formulate a middle form, just translate as passive, just like we do for infinitives. I don't know that any time in scripture these are actually going to show up as a true middle. If you see one of these, they're probably going to be passive, unless it's deponent, in which case you're going to translate it actively because it's deponent. So summary, present middle passive imperative equals first stem plus epsilon plus imperative be endings. The present middle passive imperative second plural is identical to the present middle passive indicative second plural, which means for a-o and a-o verbs, they're also identical to the subjunctive form, and memorize the endings.